Okay. Good evening, everybody. Peggy is on vacation, so I'm filling in tonight. I'll be Nobody seen Jeff? Brett
Here.
and Ron.
Ron had a family situation come up he had to be to.
So you won't be here either then? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
Michelle is in now.
Okay. All right. First, we have the approval of the minutes. Anybody read them and would like to make a motion?
So moved. This is Brett.
Second? Thank you. And we do have a city council, oh, I'm sorry, the roll call on the minutes. Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff, you on yet? And Brett?
Aye.
Okay.
And you keep missing me, Steve, this time.
Oh, Tom. I asked Rodney, I said, we're a little light on who's with. He said, nobody. I just made that up, Tom.
Okay. I vote yes. I vote yes, too.
Yeah, I even have your name down here. I just don't know why. I just didn't even read it.
That's okay.
Okay, so we're back on track here and report on council actions. We do have a city council member online. So would you like to make a report of the raises that we've gotten lately or something?
Sure. You got the same raise I got.
Okay.
Again, this is Randy Haverfield. I apologize for the absence over the last few months. We've just been busy with things. Obviously, COVID has taken prime stage with a lot of our acts and actions. Council meetings have not been quite as team-oriented like your P&Z hearings have, but we're hoping to get back to a reality sooner than later that's a little bit more normal. But we'll wait and see what happens, I guess, in November. But at this point in time, we're all moving together with a positive message. And, I just feel that things are going to be better. But at this point in time, obviously, it is what it is. So I'll get into the COVID, a couple of the COVID things as far as what's transpired in a minute here. I'm just going to go ahead and relay to you the August 17th minutes as far as the things that were highlights that you might be interested in. There was an opening in the Napa Development Corporation. We had 3 applicants apply for the position. We ended up choosing 2 people to instead of just one. So Wendy Rhodes and Kenton Lee were brought forward by the mayor's nomination and were appointed by the city council to take a position. There'll be 6 on the NDC board in 1st of October. Ties will be basically a 3-3 tie would be a no vote. So it needs to be a majority as far as for positive if something's going to pass or fail. So that's how that'll happen. We did authorize the mayor to sign the new contract with the police, Napa Police Protective Agency. So we do have we had an ongoing conversation with them about what they wanted, we could provide, and I'll get briefly into our budget summary. That was on as a public hearing item, was a public hearing for the proposed budget for the fiscal year 21. I'll go ahead and go into that right now. Basically, the highlights of the budget summary is there's a 0% increase in the property tax rates. So we kept that flat. that amounts to approximately 1.5 million in property tax increases that could have been allowed by state statute. We're not taking that, nor will it'll be passed on to the residents. So we just are keeping our belts tight. So there's no budget increase as far as for property taxes. Revenue growth was limited to new construction. So we are taking new construction values that will apply towards some of the projects that are needed, but they are not tax increases. Basically, new construction is funding growth. And that's the way that it'll be for this next year. We did change a couple of things as far as internally. Fleet services went to an internal service fund. So that now is being allowed, it's taken out of the general government budget, and they're basically operating in a more economical manner by basically taking care of their needs and working in that regard. Planning and zoning was also reorganized as an internal service fund under development services. So going forward, they will be a part of that development services department. Our fiscal year budget, the total is $201 million in change, but it's basically a slight budget variance of about $7 million from last year, but that is in new construction growth, minor changes in the enterprise fund, and special revenues, nothing that is tax-based. So that's just an oversight of the budget going forward this year. There is one thing that did take place that you might find of interest. The mayor brought forth for reconsideration the storage complex discussion, and she was concerned that there wasn't a distance requirement between potential developments. Your recommendation to council was not to include that. It was a 4-2 vote that it was approved that there would be a 2,500 foot distance between storage developments going forward. That's basically a half a mile. So we'll see how that plays out. One thing I'm going to push for is that there's no reason with that included that you guys should not be approving conditional use permits for that type of a project if it comes forward. There's no reason for it to come to council now, because you'll be able to have that ability to look at it again. I didn't think that it was ever proper for it to go to city council and avoid planning and zoning. So I'll just put that back on your plate.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then the last thing is pretty minimal, but Steel Falls came forward. They asked if their north entrance into their development would stay as an emergency access only, and that was granted. So anyway, that's a brief summary from the August 17th meeting, and I'll try to be more regular going forward with reports from council to you guys. Do you have any questions for me? Wake up, Matt. No? All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful evening. I'm going to go watch the Republican National Convention.
Hey, thank you very much. All right, moving on. The first business item is a subdivision plat final approval for Anchor Point subdivision in an RS4 zoning district and at 946 West Maryland Avenue to be developed into 9 single-family detached lots of 1.587 acres for a total gross 5.66. And they're located in the southwest portion of Section 33, so on. And Kurt Smith is representing Anchor Homes. Is Kurt with us?
Well, we don't have an applicant. For
Oh, that's
this
right.
item.
Sorry.
So, great.
So staff report then.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
No.
Can't hear me. Why can't they hear me?
I can hear you, Christy.
Thank you. Can you see the screen?
I can.
Yeah.
Thank
Good.
you so much.
Yes and yes.
Okay. Someone keep talking. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners. Action requested from you tonight is a recommendation of approval or denial of the Anchor Point subdivision final plat. This project is comprised of 1.58 acres proposed to be platted into 9 buildable lots located on the northeast corner of Midland Boulevard and Maryland Avenue. This property is located inside the city limits and is zoned RS4. It is surrounded by Canyon County enclaved properties on the north, south, and east sides, and on the west by city RS7 zoned property that makes up the Sands Point subdivision. The annexation and zoning to RS4 and the preliminary plat were approved in April of 2020, with the final ordinance for annexation having been published as of today. So it is in the city as of today. The findings of fact in this case are that it is now located within the city limits in an RS4 zone. It conforms to the approved preliminary plat layout, and it conforms to the applicable subdivision and zoning standards for Nampa. There were no other comments received before the staff report was submitted. Staff feels it is appropriate for the commission to recommend approval of the final plat for Anchor Point subdivision to City Council with the conditions as listed in your staff report and any other conditions that you see fit to impose. I will stand for any questions.
Questions, staff? Hearing none. Any deliberation, guys, ladies? Hearing none. Do I hear a motion? Somebody?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we recommend final approval for the subdivision plat for Anchor Point subdivision in an RS4 zoning district located at 946 West Maryland Avenue for 9 single-family detached lots on 1.587 acres for Kurt Smith, representing Anchor Homes LLC, with all conditions of staff.
I'll second.
Did I hear Michelle and somebody else second?
Adam?
Adam? Okay. The motion was made by Madam, seconded by Adam, and roll call, Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff, you on yet?
I am on. Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
All righty. Thank you, fellas and ladies. And the second item on the business item agenda is a subdivision plat final approval for Mossy Creek subdivision in an RS7 zoning district at 2726 and 2878 Southside Boulevard. It's 52 single-family detached units and 4 common area lots of 16.53 acres and 3.14 dwelling units per acre.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and Commissioners. The action requested from you tonight is a recommendation of approval or denial of the Mossy Creek subdivision final plat. This project is comprised of 16.47 acres, proposed to be platted into 55 buildable lots and 5 common lots for 3.14 units per acre, located at 2878 Southside Boulevard. Do it. Okay, my slideshow doesn't want to turn on. We're going to start over. Okay, well, it doesn't want to do anything. There we go. I guess we'll go through it this way. This property is located inside the city limits and is zoned RS7. It is bordered by Canyon County enclaved properties on the north and south, and city RS6 zoned properties on the east and west. The annexation and zoning to RS7, development agreement and preliminary plat were approved in May of 2009. And in November of 2019, the current preliminary plat was approved. There is only one phase of this subdivision. The findings in this case are that it is located within the city limits in an RS7 zone. It conforms to the approved preliminary plat layout, and it conforms to the applicable subdivision and zoning standards for Nampa. There were no other comments received at the time of this staff report. Staff feels that it is appropriate for this commission to recommend approval of the final plat for Mossy Creek subdivision to City Council with the conditions as listed in the staff report and any other conditions you see fit to impose. I will stand for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for staff? Hearing none. Any deliberation? Anybody have any comments they want to make on the application? Hearing none. Roll call. Michelle?
We need a motion.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Michelle, you can make a motion?
I'll second it.
All right, somebody want to make a motion then, and Michelle will second it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we recommend to City Council approval, this final plat approval for Mossy Creek subdivision in an RS7 single-family residential zoning district at 2726, 2878 Southside Boulevard for IAG Mossy Creek LLC, represented by Levitt and Associates Engineers, incorporated with all conditions of staff.
Is there a second? Oh, Michelle, sorry. Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes unanimously. And that's all of the staff items we have, business items we had for tonight. And we go on to public hearing. And it's after 7 o'clock. So the conditional use permit is the first item. It's in a light industrial zoning district at 100 West Railroad Street. Also county parcels number R313 and a whole bunch of zeros for a 5,000 gallon diesel tank and a 5,000 gallon unleaded fuel tank at the southeast corner of the property for City of Nampa Fleet Services.
We have Patrick from the building department. Our building official is here to present.
Okay.
Hello, Commissioners. Thanks for hearing me tonight. The two proposed 5,000 gallon diesel and unleaded gasoline fuel tanks for the City of Nampa Fleet Services will be used for emergency fuel sources in the event of a natural disaster, with the fuel being rotated out every year. Nampa City Council approved this project and the associated funding earlier this year. The addition of these fuel tanks to fleet services is consistent with the current zoning of business commercial and with the adjacent neighboring uses, which are either light or heavy industrial. The 9-foot high tanks will be screened along Broadmoor Way to the east with an existing 7-foot high chain link fence with existing privacy slats. This includes a 2-foot extension above the existing fence that's already there of a 3-stranded barbed wire security fence with struts that face toward the interior of the site. There'll be little to no visibility of the tanks from Broadmoor, is what we were thinking, because the tanks are set back 15 foot to the west of the east fence. So you'd have to get up pretty high to be able to see the tanks over the fence, since the road's a little lower than the property. And there will be no view of the tanks from the neighboring properties to the northwest or south. I encourage you to approve our request for a CUP, and we'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions?
I have a question, Vice Chair. Is there any reason why these tanks can't be buried, or is because of an event of a natural disaster or an emergency or something like that, would there be any risk of them being damaged or not being able to get to for some reason?
Chairman and Councilman, the trend is to put above ground tanks anymore, except for some gas stations. The cost is much less when you go above ground. The slab that they're on will be, it's a designed structural slab that's about 18 inches deep on quite a bit of fill. and they're double walled tanks, and they're basically designed so they can't shift around. And part of the reason why we wanted these tanks is, if in case there's an earthquake or some other natural disaster that would cut power and we needed to be able to fill up police cars or fire trucks. So I think the trend, other than for convenience stores you see around town or larger fueling stations, is to actually go above ground because the first cost is less, and then you don't have the problem of them leaking into the groundwater over time and remediation and replacement over time.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other questions? I have one. Why is it right next to the building where most of the people work rather than on the other side of the parking lot where there's just storage buildings for trucks and things? Why is it next to their workstations?
That's a great question. We are about, I don't have the plan up, but I think we're about 40 or 50 foot from the corner there. We're close to the building because of the cost of running the electrical to the tanks, and the best way to run the cheapest way to run the electrical was to pull a circuit out of the existing fleet building. Otherwise, we would have had to pull electrical all the way across the site because we don't have sufficient electrical service at the other building across the way. The other reason is because that we can have people come in and be able to put fuel in their vehicles and actually be monitored by somebody in the building rather than being. We're going to mount a camera on the building for security, and there's also some site lighting, so it made sense to put it closer to the building.
Okay, makes sense to me too.
Building.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any questions? And Rodney said there was nobody who wanted to comment in public?
Well, I do have a presentation.
Oh, your presentation. Oh, for crying out loud. You're going to mess us all up. Go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. Pleasure to be here. I put this view up on the screen, and this is just approximate based on what was in the application. I did want to clarify something really quick, though. In the building world, they talk about commercial in more general terms than we do. We define it as different than industrial. And so I just wanted to clarify that the zone upon which this is located is the IL, light industrial zone. And so it still requires a conditional use permit, though, and that's why you're here today, or that's why this is before you today. It's for a new 5,000 gallon diesel fuel tank and a 5,000 gallon unleaded fuel tank for power generation for critical pump stations during an emergency, as has been stated. So just a quick history. Facilities has recommended fuel storage tanks for many years to City Council. Disaster could create problems. Any kind of disaster, really, a man-made or a natural disaster, could create problems for running water and sewer pump stations if electricity were disrupted to the pumps. In March of 2020, a major earthquake occurred in Utah's Wasatch Valley, disrupting electricity and contaminating water supply to residents in the valley. On March 31st, we had a 6.5 magnitude earthquake here, and at that point, City Council reconsidered not permitting or not approving funding for these storage tanks, and so that's why it is before you today. So the comp plan designation is industrial. The zoning district is light industrial. Again, there was some confusion. I think that was mistakenly put as commercial in the application or the staff report. So there's the light industrial designation there. It is right next to the BC zone, which requires design review, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So to the north is the Broadmoor RV Park, light industrial zoning district. To the south is Idaho Power Substation, that's heavy industrial zoning district. To the east is Pierce Concrete Supply. We don't have an aerial that shows all the improvements there, but that is in the BC zoning district. And the new building was required to go through the design review process. And they even were required to do some improvements to the fence that is surrounding their equipment out in the yard there. Pretty significant improvements to that fence. To the west is Union Pacific Railroad main line. So the existing land use, of course, is the fleet services office and repair and lube bays, the city street division buildings, equipment, vehicles, chemicals, sand, all the things that are related to maintaining our streets. Utilities are all within and available to the site. Access to the property will be from West Railroad Street. You can see that there. So maybe Patrick could confirm this, but I would assume that if they were ever to access those containers, that they'd access through here.
That's correct.
Okay. Then correspondence, there really wasn't a lot, except that planning and zoning reviewed this and just were concerned about the requirements that we put on the Pierce Concrete Supply Company directly across the street. They are in the BC zone, and so they are required to go through the design review process, and this would not be required to go through the design review process. But just perception, generally, we were concerned about big storage tanks being constructed right across the street from a building that we were required to go through design review. However, as Patrick has stated, it's likely that those storage unit or those fuel storage containers will not even be visible from the street. Pretty standard requirements of the building department. And then really the only other comment we received was from the city engineering division, and they just stated that the tanks will be regulated through the EPA, and they will need to get a permit from Idaho DEQ. So these are our standard requirements for approving or denying a CUP, and anything you state tonight about why you choose to approve or deny this will be findings that will be used to support the decision. Again, I just basic point made about conditional use permits is that if you can find mitigating conditions to comply with these previous requirements in 1025-4, then that is the purpose of conditional use permits, and you are well within your rights to require any conditions that would allow them to comply with that legal basis. Staff analysis, the proposed fuel storage tanks are intended to prepare for an emergency to ensure the basic community and life-sustaining services are maintained. They're consistent with the comprehensive plan. I've stated the Chapter 13, Objective 1 is to strive to provide a safe community for residents and visitors. And Strategy 2 states identify and take appropriate steps to mitigate impacts of hazards. I think this falls within those conditions. Land use is consistent with the industrial zoning. Likely will have minimal impacts to the neighbors. And I've talked about that last point there. Again, the recommended findings, if approved, those are required by our code. And then suggested conditions of approval, I would just state if you find that that you believe that those tanks will not be seen from the street, then perhaps that second condition could be removed. But if the other thing you could do there is if they can be seen from the street over the fence, then perhaps landscaping would be required. Maybe Patrick could speak to that when we go back to him. So I've stated a potential motion and placed it on the screen here and would stand for questions.
I have a question, Rodney.
Yes.
So, of course, I'm new to this, but we have no storage, no fuel storage anywhere to run pumps and generators should the power grid get knocked out.
So I'd prefer that Patrick respond to that.
Or I can take that one, Rodney.
Okay.
So
This is Daniel.
Yeah, sorry, Daniel with engineering. The existing lift stations and well sites within the cities have existing backup generators on site that do have fuel storage in them continuously for operations in an emergency. This storage is to provide a longer response time in the event of a natural disaster that drops the power for a day or two, so that we have adequate fuel to operate those systems on a little longer basis.
Yeah. Well, I know generators and they gotta, they'll run for probably a day or two if they're running full power with what the storage they have on them. But I'm just amazed that we don't have a large supply of backup fuel. If we get knocked out for a day, a couple, 3 days, earthquakes or something could cause a major disruption and you may not get things back up online. And I'm just amazed that we don't have this already.
And it's been a discussion for as long as I've worked at the city. It's just not something that it's to have, these 5,000 gallon tanks. They're a drop in the bucket in a long duration event. The funding to put in more of a gas station that has more storage than we would look at is obviously much higher cost. And so this is just the step that council is determined to take at this point. I'm sure there'll be continuing discussions on, more storage and alternative options going forward as well.
Okay, thank you.
And Tom, if it helps you any, like the police station has a huge generator right in back of it, and it has a 1,000-gallon tank next to it, which will supply 2 days worth of power. And it's right across the street from United Oil's got more tanks. So the city public services like the fire and police, they will have communications and the buildings will be up and running instantaneously if something were to happen.
Right. But I'm just, with all the pump stations and lift stations and everything around that could get knocked offline and have to run for a couple, 3 days, we need to have more storage than what comes on those units as their own storage. So to me, I'm just amazed that the city doesn't have this, a pretty good supply for backup. So that's why I was asking.
Well,
Okay.
That's why we also maintain friendly relations with Meridian and Caldwell.
But they're upriver from us.
Okay, has anybody from the public come in since? Okay. And is there any rebuttal from the city staff on this? Anything that not been addressed? Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I hear a
Second.
second? Who made those, please?
Jeff moved.
Brett, second.
Okay, Michelle. In favor
Aye.
of? Okay. Matt,
Aye.
Adam,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Thank you. Public hearing is closed. So is there any deliberation? Anybody have anything?
This is Patrick. I just had one item. We're willing to put in a higher fence or landscaping if it turns out you can see these from the road. We'd rather not incur the costs up front with the project and then be able to, I guess, prove that you can't see them. But if they did, we want to be good neighbors and we want to actually screen them from the public way.
Well, thank you for saying that. That did ease my mind a bit. Okay, any other discussion or deliberation on the application?
Yeah, I'd say, I just took a brief look on Google Street View, right, and placed myself right on the road right next to where they're going to go. And it's like, you can see through the privacy slats just plain, and you can see all the cars that are in there. The buildings aren't beautiful works of art either. I just don't see the need to screen or to go to the expense of adding more fence. And even if it's a taller fence, it's probably not going to look that great anyway, because the privacy slats don't look great. So for me, I don't see it as being a big need to go through the process and the extra expense to screen those tanks.
Wasn't Rodney's suggestion, though, is to maybe put in some landscaping, though, trees or something like that would grow to maturity and screen those? That's not really a big expense, putting trees in or shrubs or something like that. I mean, it'd have to be trees to be that tall, but. Rodney, will you put your suggested conditions back up? Can't remember what they were.
Yeah.
But again, even if there's no need for even adequate landscaping, then there's no need to even go to that expense either. So I agree with Patrick. Why go to any expense, period, if the need is not there?
Anything else?
Okay, well, I'll make a motion if there's nothing else, Vice Chair.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I will make a motion that we approve the conditional use permit in the IL zoning district at 100 West Railroad Street for a 5,000 gallon diesel tank and a 5,000 gallon unleaded fuel tank at the southeast corner of the property for City of Nampa Fleet Services, with the suggested conditions of approval that are listed here and proposed by Planning and Zoning, being those that are specifically the second one. If the need is there after the tanks are installed to further screen those tanks, then planting adequate landscaping or putting in adequate landscaping so that future full growth will screen those tanks.
I'll second that.
There's Tom and I think Michelle seconded.
Who seconded that, may I ask?
Yes, that's correct. I second it.
Okay.
I did.
Okay, the motion was made and seconded.
Chairman.
All those, yes, sir, ma'am, sir.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on the motion. So the motion would basically be if they can be seen over the fence from the street, then we'll need to put in landscaping. Is that correct?
After they're installed.
Yeah.
If at that point they can be seen, then adequate landscaping, then basically bullet number 2 kicks in.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor, Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Motion is unanimous. Motion passes, or the application. Conditional use permit is approved. Second item, conditional use permit for a gunsmithing business to apply surface finishings to firearm parts in a light industrial zoning district at 2603 Sundance Road. for Jason and, sorry, I can't pronounce the last name.
Last name is Janishek, sir.
Okay. And Da Vinci Enterprises, Inc. And the applicant is present.
Yes, sir.
Would you please tell us what this is you want to do for yourself?
So I currently run a job shop, plating and coating shop in that business. This is just a licensing restructure to continue to do firearms parts, the regulated receivers, the regulated parts. Strangely, when I got into this place 4 years ago, I was told I didn't need a conditional use permit. I was told I didn't need anything. So this is kind of what we're doing now, I guess.
Thank you. What else? Anything? Any other part of your business that you need to tell us about? Would like to tell us about?
Like I said, I'm a job shop, plating and coating shop. Most of the work I do is semiconductor stuff, but I do have a few firearms manufacturers as customers.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. We'll hear from everybody else and get back to you.
Chairman, this is Matt. I got a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Jason, so you have been working in this shop for years now? What did you say?
Yeah, it was about 4 years ago when I moved in.
And you're not doing anything different other than just getting the conditional use permit?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And Rodney, I take it you're going to do the staff report since you're still sitting there.
It's actually Doug Critchfield, and he's online.
Oh, okay. Doug?
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Kehoe and Commissioners. Doug Critchfield, Principal Planner. Some general information about this project. It's in a commercial in the comprehensive plan, but it's a light industrial zone. And the surrounding zoning is light industrial, with exception to the west of the building that this operation is in, which is county residential, and it's a midway subdivision with acreage lots on it, fairly large lots. Excuse me. Other business operations within the building include the Idaho Bookbindery, A+ Training, Cleaning and Plumbing, and Legends Mechanical. The parcel size in which the building is set is 1.24 acres. The actual suite size of this operation is 3,640 square feet. There is sewer and water to the building, and all public services are available. Excuse me. The business is operated indoors. It's a very limited operation. There's other light industrial uses in the same building. The parking is paved parking that's provided. The applicant has stated that it's just himself and occasionally a family member that operates the business. The transportation to the site is off of Sundance Road, frontage on Sundance Road. As you can see on this slide, the location of suite number 109 in the building. This is a picture of the property looking to the west, looking into the property, and an arrow pointing approximately where this business is located. So the applicable regulations on this project, again, as was mentioned in the previous CUP application, Title 10, Chapter 25 sets forth those criteria for approval. In Title 10, Chapter 32B, this firearms businesses are not listed in our code under Chapter 3. And so 2B gives the Planning and Zoning Department Director interpretation authority about the applicability of an unlisted land use designation to a listed land use. In this case, and in previous applications, anything to do with firearms, we've listed under sporting goods category. And because the IL zone requires a conditional use permit for a sporting goods operation and the nature of the business, this is why we've gone through a conditional use process. we've had correspondence from 3 agencies. The only one of significance was from the Nampa Building Department, which is standard language in that any improvements would require be subject to the requirements of Title IV in the building regulations of the Nampa City Code. From a staff analysis perspective, because this is in a light industrial zoning district and there's other types of manufacturing going on there, there is a Baptist church immediately to the south of this location, but the proposed land use will not involve the manufacture, assembly, or sales of firearms. This is simply a business that there's a coating placed to materials that go into firearms. And that surface finishing is the only operation that will occur there. Other than pickup and delivery by courier, the business will be operated indoors, and it's not a retail operation, so there will not be regular public interaction there. So based on that, we've concluded that the gunsmithing business to apply surface finishes to firearm parts is an eligible conditional use in the light industrial zoning district is determined by the planning and zoning director. With that, the condition of approval, if the commission chooses to approve the request for conditional use permit, these are the conditions. So the operator would need to maintain in current status all regulatory permitting licensures and operational procedures as required by law, that the owner shall keep any operating firearms or disassembled operating firearms that could be reassembled, locked in a secure safe within the confines of the business and the building. Number 3, that the business to apply surface finishes to firearm parts shall be continuously operated in accordance with the staff report's proposed use description, and that this CUP is only granted to the business owner for the duration of use and shall not be transferable to any other location, owner, or tenant of the property. Those are the other conditions as stated in the staff report. So the motion then was stated previously, and I'd be glad to take any questions.
Any questions for Doug? Hearing none. Thank you very much, Doug.
Yeah.
And Rodney, is no public still? Jeff, did you have anything else you wanted to, Jason rather, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or are you good?
Nope, all sounded good to me.
All right, sounds good to me. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
So moved.
I heard 2 so moved
Second.
and a second. I'm not sure who any of you were, but did you guys get it?
Matt?
I heard Matt as a second. I don't know who was
the motion maker?
I did. Tom.
Tom, okay. So the motion was made and seconded, and Michelle, any comments? Yay or nay? Yay, nay? Wake up. Michelle?
Is this the roll call?
Look forward to me. Thank you.
Okay. And Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. Is there any deliberation amongst the commissioners or any comments you guys would like to make, or Michelle?
Mr. Vice Chair, this is Brett.
I'm sorry, what?
I'll go ahead and make the motion that we grant the conditional use permit for gunsmithing business to apply service finishes to firearm parts in an IL zoning district at 2603 Sundance Road, Suite 109, for Jason Janicek, Da Vinci Enterprises, with all conditions of staff.
Second.
Could you guys say your names when you make the second, or so we know who you are? Or I know who you are? Who made the second on that?
Matt,
Matt. Thank you, Matt. Okay, the motion to approve the application was made and seconded. Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Motion is unanimous and passes. The third and last item is a zoning map amendment from unzoned to BC community business at Broadmoor Way and Northside Boulevard. And the unzoned right-of-way on a 3.52 acre portion of section 16 in the Noble Track subdivision, blocks 1 and 2. To zone a piece of land that should have been zoned at time of annexation to the city on behalf of the owner of Idaho Arts Charter School. And Christy will be doing the presentation, I take it?
Yes, I'm also the applicant.
Oh, you are the applicant too.
Yes.
And the little background on this is for those maybe new that this was unzoned golf course at one time and.
Yeah, this used to be part of the Broadmoor Golf Course.
Okay.
And it has been unzoned because it was basically a park. And also the area to the south there in the IL zone, that's the Nampa wastewater treatment plant and the fire training center, was also unzoned because it was municipal property.
Okay.
And so
Now we're kind of
now that all that has sold and redeveloped, we thought we probably should get some of that taken care of.
Back in order.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
you're welcome. Okay, so thank you, Vice Chairman Kehoe and Commissioners. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. The action required from you tonight is a recommendation to City Council for the approval of the zoning map amendment from unzoned to BC to assign a land use zone to properties within the incorporated city limits of Nampa that have historically been unzoned due to previous municipal land uses. The property is currently unzoned and is surrounded by BC and IL zoned property that used to make up the Broadmoor Golf Course, as we were just discussing. They were all unzoned prior to the recent development that has taken place in that area. So this seems like a pretty cut and dried case, just kind of a housekeeping item. So the findings in this case are that while the current land use is a parking lot and is not considered development necessarily, it is an allowed use as accessory to the adjacent school. But it still has to follow all these same improvement requirements as conditioned by engineering and planning and zoning per city code when they do site improvements, such as the parking lot. Therefore, a zoning designation makes it a lot easier for us to apply the appropriate regulations so that it matches the surrounding properties. The proposed map amendment is compliant with the city's currently adopted comprehensive plan and land use map. The proposed map amendment would provide a proposed use or set of uses that would be reasonably compatible with the adjoining property's uses. The proposed map amendment would make a change on the land use map of the city, which would establish an area of zoning the same as or compatible with the immediately adjoining districts. The proposed map amendment would not create a spot zone. And the proposed amendment would be in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary, especially if the school ever chose to expand into that property with a structure. Then they would not have to wait for that rezone to take place before they could pull a building permit. So here's the list of the signs and the uses that are allowed within the BC zone, and you had that attached in your staff report. As you can see, the list of the BC zone uses is quite extensive. None of these are proposed at this time, but could possibly be used on the property in the future if it was sold or wanted to be built on for some reason. So the only agency comment that we received is the usual building department comment that says that the property would be subject to the requirements of Title IV should it be developed. Other agencies, as shown in your staff report, didn't have any issues with the request. So should the commission choose to recommend approval of the rezone request to City Council, staff recommends the standard conditions that are listed in the staff report and any others that you see fit to impose. So again, there is your action. The action required from you this evening is approval of the request to rezone the unzoned properties to BC that are located at 0 Broadmoor Way, 0 Northside Boulevard, and the adjacent right-of-way near the Idaho Arts Charter School. I will stand for any questions.
Does anybody have any questions of Christie? Hearing none. Does anybody from the public want to speak? Nobody from the public is here. Moving on. Applicant and a rebuttal, Ms. Christie?
I am in agreement.
Oh, you're in agreement.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, so
Make a
let's hear.
motion to close the public hearing.
Thank you. And second?
I'll second. This is Brett.
Thank you, Brett. All those in favor? Michelle?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Thank you. Public hearing is closed. Anybody have any comments or? No commissioners have any comments? Moving right along.
No, I think it makes sense, and so I'd make a motion that we recommend approval of the zoning map amendment from unzoned to BC community business at 0 Broadmoor Way and 0 Northside Boulevard for the parking lot areas for near the Idaho Arts Charter School with any conditions of staff.
I'll second. Brett.
Thank you, Brett. So Michelle, yay or nay? Motion.
Yay, aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
That concludes our business for the evening. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Hold on, just Vice Chair, hold on just a second. Before we conclude, before we adjourn, hey, Rodney, are you there?
I am.
So what do you think of my, so Vice Chair, my deepest apologies to you and the commissioners for getting on late. I wanted to make sure that I was, well, I wanted to make sure I was here for the approval of the minutes because I had some issues with the minutes.
Oh,
And so when I asked Rodney if we could, if there was a way, I don't know how the process works, but if there's a way that we could revisit that, I don't know, because it looks like they were already approved.
yes, they have been.
So basically what you could do is you could review them again and make a motion to approve or update or amend the approval,
Okay.
basically.
Okay. Okay, so we will re-look at the minutes of the last meeting. And Jeff, you have a comment or two you'd like to make, so please do so.
I do, and it's significant enough that I think it bears some looking into. But public hearing number one, and this had to do with our discussion about the storage units. And there was quite a bit of discussion from the commissioners. And as I was reading through the minutes, I don't even see Commissioner Van Auker's comments in the minutes, which he made quite a few of them, and they're not in the minutes at all. I know I talk all the time, sometimes too much, and I know that a lot of my comments, there's some in there, but not nearly what was discussed. And I think this is a significant issue because we are actually denying what the city council wanted us basically to approve. And so I think that discussion and the reasons for our denial really need to be documented in the minutes, including everybody's comments, including, Van Auker, Commissioner Van Auker's, and everybody's. And I just didn't see those in this minute. So that concerns me. So when the city council sees our minutes, are they seeing the whole story?
So
that's my issue.
Chairman and commissioners, this is Rodney. So as you recall, Sylvia retired, and we're trying to handle the minutes. She was very capable of producing those minutes in shorthand. She had skills in being able to write in shorthand. And so she captured so much of what the Planning and Zoning Commission has said in the past that, it was phenomenal, actually. However, nobody else can do that. And so we don't get the details that she did unless we go back and listen to every word and write it all out again. And quite frankly, we've been a little bit overwhelmed with responsibility.
So Rodney, but the discussion was recorded, correct?
It was, and I actually went back and listened to that discussion before I presented it to City Council. So they did hear I presented those specifics to them in my staff report, and that was actually just last week. And you missed the Councilman Haverfield's comments, but I believe he addressed that just briefly in his comments as well. I will say that this is actually coming back to you for consideration again. The council approved the 2,500 foot buffer, but then they also directed staff to come back with additional regulations that would limit would limit storage unit developments even more than the 2,500 foot buffer. However, they also recommend, it was a little confusing at the meeting because they had several different perspectives, and one of those perspectives was to send the conditional use permits back to this body for approval. And so what we're planning on doing is presenting 3 different specific ordinances for consideration for storage units. One of those would place the responsibility back on this commission for a conditional use permit to move forward. Some of the others will be more extensive in limiting storage units' ability to even locate in the city. There was a lot of strong opinions about it from the city council, and that was the only way that legal and I could figure out how to bring this before them again, because there were just differing opinions on it. So you will also get a chance to again state your opinions on this, but rest assured, I did pass that on to them in my staff.
See, and I know obviously there was a change with Sylvia, and that may have been the issue there, but it is issues like this when we seemingly are at odds, I guess, for lack of a better term, with city council, that it is absolutely critical that things that we discuss in a public hearing are documented. And I appreciate, Rodney, that you did have that recording, at least to share with the city council. But I think it's important, especially when we're in this is a public meeting, so we need to make sure that everything is, and every commissioner's comment should be documented also. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we'll wait for it to come back in 3 different phases, apparently.
Yeah. And Commission, I will also say that I'm not sure how our minutes are going to look differently now for the foreseeable future. It may be more of a summary, but we do have an audio recording that we keep on file, we place on the website, and we have the video recording. So there's lots of opportunity for people to see and listen to what occurred at these meetings.
Okay. Well, on that note, then I feel comfortable that at least everything is documented, and I don't feel a need, Vice Chair, to go back and redo the motion or anything like that. We'll just keep it as is. But
right. Hey, Rodney.
Yes.
This is Matt. I wonder then if that's the case, if considering what Jeff is saying, is there some kind of a disclaimer that can be put on those minutes that says this is a summary, that the fuller record is on recording and is available, or something like that?
Yeah, that's a great idea, and I'll do that, definitely.
So the public knows that this is not the 100% documented.
And at least it tells them where to go.
This doesn't show nearly how mad we are. I mean, are these videos being recorded and documented also, like
yes,
facial expressions?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anybody have anything else?
No, thank you very much for your indulgence, Mr. Chair.
Don't forget that next month, the meeting is going to be on Wednesday instead of Tuesday, the first
That's correct.
Wednesday instead of the first Tuesday. So make a note on your calendars that it's not going to be a Tuesday. It's going to be the following day because of that some Labor Day or something. I don't know what they call that thing, but it's some holiday. Okay,
Excuse me.
anybody else have anything else?
No, thank you.